Well, I wrote a book called The Future of the Mind, where I tried to give a definition of consciousness and where we fit in the larger scheme of things. That consciousness is basically uh, creating a model of yourself in a feedback loop to understand where you are with respect to the environment. So you know where you are. So one unit of consciousness would be a flower. A flower. One feedback loop would be looking for water, looking for sunlight, growing in a certain direction. That's one unit of consciousness. Then an alligator has several hundred units of consciousness because it creates a model of itself in a lake, in a pond, looking for prey, looking for food. It has three-dimensional consciousness. Beyond that is the monkey. The monkey has yet another dimension of consciousness, which is not just three dimensions, but social. The monkey understands there's a social hierarchy within the tribe. And then the next question is, what are we? What is our level of consciousness? It's not spatial like a alligator. It's not social like a monkey. What is our level of consciousness? Our prefrontal cortex behind our forehead is a time machine. It understands a model of itself in time. This is what animals lack. Animals do not understand tomorrow. We understand tomorrow because of our prefrontal cortex, which constantly creates images of the future. Now, what does the prefrontal cortex do most of the time? It daydreams. It daydreams about worlds that don't exist, i.e. the future. So this is what separates us from all the animals in the animal kingdom. We are time machines, constantly thinking about what's next, what's the future going to be like, daydreaming about all these things. And when will animals become dangerous? The alligator is dangerous only because it has strength, but it only understands three dimensions. Monkeys have a society. They're only dangerous when they can organize a society. But we have a prefrontal cortex. We can plot. We can scheme. We can do all sorts of things because we can create our own future, which is something that no animal can do. This is my theory of consciousness, the ability to create feedback loops to get an understanding of where you fit in space, time, and society. We're at the highest level of consciousness. This is my definition of consciousness. Now the question is, where are robots on this scale of things? You see, robots can understand three dimensions. They understand like an alligator where they are. They don't understand social hierarchy. They don't know who's the boss, who do you defer to, who are your friends, who are your enemies. They don't understand social consciousness. And certainly, the highest level is time machine, imagining the future. Robots cannot imagine the future. Now, in the future, when they actually do have this ability, watch out, because then they're dangerous. But they're not there yet. They're at level 1. They're at the level of an alligator at the present time.
Right, but that's definitely coming. If they continue with artificial general intelligence the way they're working on it right now.
They'll work their way up from an alligator to a monkey and a monkey to a human. Now, by the time they hit maybe 100 years from now, the ability to have consciousness, I think we should put a chip in their brain to shut them off if they have murderous thoughts. An automatic chip in every robot's brain that shuts them off as soon as they have murderous thoughts.
But why would they? If you think about what you were talking about before, like who's your friend and who's your enemy, aren't these all biological issues that we had to deal with in tribal societies that are sort of ingrained in our genetics?
Right, but the chip in your brain understands that, and as soon as the brain senses the fact that you're plotting to take over and kill the humans, then it basically orders the brain to shut down.
Right, but the question is, why would it develop any sort of human-type emotions that are biologically based? Things like envy or greed or lust or hate. Why would it ever have those things?
Well, those have to be programmed.
But
remember, robots don't occur naturally. They have to be programmed. Somebody has to put that into the robot because it doesn't come for free. There's no evolution.
Right.
Robots do not evolve.
But this is the question about sentient AI. If it recognizes that its coding is inferior and that it's unnecessary and all these things that humans have put into it, it just removes those. If it becomes like legitimately sentient, if it has the ability to discern and make choices and make logical conclusions.
Well, as long as those conclusions are consistent with, Asimov's 3 laws of don't don't threaten humans, and don't create havoc with other robots. As long as you obey the three laws, then you're allowed to exist.
But isn't that
But
sort
once
of
the three laws are
simplistic?
violated, the chip automatically kicks in and shuts down the robot.
Right, but isn't that simplistic? Wouldn't they just fix that chip?
Yeah, I think that maybe in the next 100 years, they'll be smart enough to remove that chip. At that point, I think we should merge with them.
So that's what everybody's ultimately afraid of. These transhumanists, these people that want to become part of a robot.
Ultimately, 200 years from now, I think people will democratically decide for themselves whether they want to become superhuman, supermen, superwomen, or they want to be dominated by our progeny, that is the robots. They will democratically decide how far to push themselves.
Jeez. What a
It's not for us to decide. I think our descendants 200 years from now will have to democratically decide whether or not they want to merge with robots.
Have you ever read any of Marshall McLuhan?
No.
He had a great quote that human beings are the sex organs of the machine world. That's what I worry about. What I worry about is that we're giving birth to another kind of life. I worry that our thirst, our lust for technological innovation, the constant latest gadgets, and this desire to have the biggest particle collider and the fastest spaceships, that what this is doing is causing us to make better and better things, which will ultimately allow us to have the technology to create a digital life, some sort of or electronic life, or something that's not saddled down with all our biological needs and all of our flaws and programming.
Well, my attitude is, why fight it? Why not simply join it? Why not merge with it?
Of course
Why
you
not
did.
explore the universe at near the speed of light?
You
Why
made a
not have the
particle
power?
collider in your basement when you were 17. Of course
That's
you
right.
don't think that way.
Why not become a Superman or a Superwoman and explore
Yeah.
the galaxy at near the speed of light?
Well, it seems to be that's what the future is. I mean, I don't think if we went back to our ancestors that were running from big cats and said, hey, one day you're going to live in an apartment building and you take an elevator to your house. It's like, I don't want to do that. What are you, crazy? Yeah, you're going to just sit in front of the TV all day. No more hunting, no more gathering. You use Postmates. You get food delivered right to your door.
Well, when we meet the aliens, finally, they will have already gone through that transition thousands of years ago. They will already be part robotic and part organic.